Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Visual Studio Toolbox. I'm your host, Leslie Richardson, and I am joined today by Microsoft MVP Joe Finney. Hey Joe.
Hello.
So, topic wise, we're talking about Copilot, specifically agent mode, which is all the rage these days. I feel like it's been a minute. I've swapped back from agent mode to ask mode. So we're going to talk about agent mode and also one of the new agents that was recently introduced in NPS 2026, which you should install if you haven't yet. It's GA now. .NET Conf has since come and gone. Now is the time to try it out. And yeah, we're going to talk all about profiling and agents.
Yeah, let's do it. I love agent mode, and to your point, it's my default mode. Like it's just always on, and I never switch from anything else.
And just so we're on the same page, agent mode. Why? Why are we? What is agent mode, and why should people use it?
Yes. Okay. So agent mode is the way for Copilot to basically do everything. So do the things, not just tell you what to do. So it can create files, it can edit files, it can run commands and read your build output and then react to it, which is kind of that is really the key loop and really what sets it apart from what a lot of people do, I think, which is context switching between windows or between apps where they have to jump over to a browser and maybe ask, hey, here's what my app is doing. Even if it has access to the source control, you're still copying and pasting or switching back and forth. But when it can actually build and run and read the failures or read the test failures and then fix them, it's just another level of working. And it really does feel like you are paired programming with somebody who's actually in front of a computer working instead of somebody that's like handing you something and then you have to hand it there and
Right.
yeah.
Yep, there are sometimes instances where I will swap back to ask mode just because 'cause I'm, like, talking about I'm just trying to get, like, explanations on things. Whenever I forget to set it back and then I start asking Copilot to do stuff for me again, it's just like, "Copy paste all this yourself, good luck. We're not even gonna tell you the file. You need to set the code in sometimes." It's like, "Okay, thanks. Let me ask that question again in agent mode."
Especially when you have long files or long methods, which, we definitely don't do, right? Everybody has
No.
smart,
Ref
smart single purpose. But if they get big and they might have a little comment that says like rest of the method here or something, and you're like, like you gotta, but it will do the work for you.
Yep, I love that, and, yeah, I like the fact that it knows that code is not supposed to be a monolith and will try its best to break it up into multiple files and places as well. So, yeah, we should see it in action, right?
Yeah, let's do it. I'm here working on my app TRDO, which is a very simple app. It's actually running right now. You can't even tell. It's this little radio icon down at the bottom. And if
Mhm.
you right click on it, you can see it pulls up a little radio stations and you can play them. I'm not going to do that right now, but you can play the radio and it's just kind of a little background thing, which is like very easy to play while you're working or whatever. And you don't want it to like open a whole nother browser window. So it's just nice. It lives in your tray and I want to add a new icon. So I have added the icon in my solution explorer here, the hourglass. And what I want to do is I want to say, can you use the icon for hourglass? And I can mention it with a pound key. So you can mention all sorts of things within your code base, like methods or functions or assets.
Mhm. It's good to get specific.
Yep. So you can see when I said use the icon for hourglass, when the user clicks, the radio is loading. I gave it access to the hourglass that it was a PNG that I sent in there. And I have already had the code in there where it will switch the icon between whether or not it's playing or not. But sometimes there's like a little bit of a buffering delay and you wonder like, oh, do I need to click it again? Did I click it the first time? So I want to create a little intermediate state there and represent that back to the user. And you can see here, it is just going, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it is just churning away. You can see it read my view models. It read, it's reading the code. Oh no, I'm in ask mode.
Oh, I thought it was weird. It's like, "Oh, it's like putting the code in the chat."
Oh no, I can.
So this is an example of why ask mode may not, be great for everything. It's really great if you just want to ask why something is the way it is or asking for an explanation on something, but If you want to implement the code or have specifically Copilot implement it for you, then yeah, swap over to good old agent.
So I'm just going to start a whole new thread, which is very easy, and say implement.
Oh, don't forget to swap for
Oh
math.
my gosh, that would be hilarious.
There you go.
So similar prompt there where I said implement it. It's going to do, again, run off there and start working. It's going to run through the search, read all of the relevant results it likes to say, which is always very cryptic, but you can expand anything if you wonder how it's doing that and where it's reading it. So you can see the view model is reading the playing page. And right now I have the app XAML open, but you'll see as it does the work, it will start adding tabs, which will start popping up there. It understands the media playback state. It understands buffering and opening. It opens up its own terminal here. And I actually like to pin this because sometimes it covers over what it's currently doing. So this is kind of my layout for agent mode where I have the chat on the side and then I have the terminal on the bottom. And the code window is so tiny. But usually I'm not in there editing code right now. I'm just kind of letting it go. And it's even implementing planning mode here. It has hourglass icons for loading state. You can read the progress. We can see the steps. And this is very similar. If you use any other coding agents, you may have seen something like this before.
Sweet. And is planning the planning feature, that's like a new feature currently in preview, right?
I think so. Yeah, I saw this start popping up and I'm like, awesome. I love this because sometimes there are these long multi step processes. This is obviously pretty straightforward and pretty simple. But if the plan gets really long, you can get lost or you
Yeah.
to be lost where it's like puts a big block of the plan and you have to go back and read it and understand it. And that could be definitely challenging. But this is, we understand. And again, I'm sitting here hands off, just watching it go. And we can see it's updating this markdown file as we go.
Sweet. And I do like that new planning feature. I need to turn it on. I think it's in the latest insiders if anyone's curious. I saw it demo at .NET Conf. But yeah, I like it in part because I've had like prompts and chat modes that I've used with Copilot where it does give me that task list and progress in the chat itself, but it's hard to find and keep up with because it's constantly generating new stuff every second, basically, and you have to scroll a lot. So it's nice that it gets its own designated markdown experience, which is cool.
It is. So right now you can even see here it's running commands in its own terminal, which is it failing to do that? Oh no. This is where the agent sometimes tries to do things that are a little bit gets out over its skis.
Oh no.
What if we just tell it to stop and say, I'll provide the icon file. So it can basically stub everything out and then I'll provide the icon file and then it will include that.
Cool. Yeah, sometimes it helps to, like, break up the tasks for Copilot to do just because sometimes it's like, "Yeah, I got all of this," and other times it's like, "What?" It just, like, stops on one
Mhm.
task. We're so close.
But you can even see in here, it was eagerly jumping in to run in the terminal a multi-step script to convert from a bitmap to an icon. So when we think that this is really your agent, like it is really helping you build and it's very eager and will do the work. So
Mhm.
if I switch over here to the player service, I might hide this window and shrink down the pane a little bit so we could see some of the code. And this might be a little bit of a different kind of diff experience than you might be used to, but you can see there's a couple areas of keep. This is where we can basically decide to get rid of. This is outside of Git right now. Like obviously the files are in Git and the Git diff is there, but this is kind of maybe an intermediate layer in between. Like we haven't committed the files. The files may be new, but they're definitely edited. And here we can basically see everything that's been changed by the agent in this session right now. So these three files have been changed and I can click on the files and it highlights on the side scroll bar here and I can scroll through and see all the difference. So it's stating it's putting this new buffering state in there. It's deleting some lines. It's adding some new debug lines. It's using new is buffering. So I can decide to keep everything for this file. I can go to the player view model file. Here again, the state has changed, and we can see not a lot of code changes here. Keep that on the app and keep that. So it's pretty simple build right there. And then I can even ask it, try to build, and just to prove that it might fail to build, I think because it doesn't have that image file, but
Mhm.
you can see it will just build a solution and read what's going on in the build output, which is pretty great. And you can also reference the build output directly, almost like it's a file. Okay, it was successful. Great. So if you want to reference the build output, you can do, I think it's hash output, and you can see output for package manager, for Git, and for the build. So this is, again, another way for you to give some context back up. And it,
I like those especially. Those are newer additions to the referencing family that, you can give to Copilot, which is exciting.
yeah, it's super helpful. And you can see it's just going to describe what I need to do. So I think it told me I need to just include a new hourglass icon and then it'll do it. It's pretty incredible how simple that was. It was one
Mhm.
prompt, it jumped across multiple files, it added in the elements. And obviously you could do that yourself, but maybe you are building a lot of different apps like I am, and
Sure.
these little tasks really add up. And I would say for this app, at least, it's not some huge, serious, major app right now. It's pretty new. There's not a lot of users. And I'm really interested in like, what are all the things I need to get in place? And then is that even a viable alternative? This might be a spike, right, at work that you're trying to figure out, what can I even do here? And it can execute these spikes and it can build these things up. And then you can look at all the code or review and experiment with it and see how it worked. You got to decide, do I want to keep this or not? Right? You didn't waste hours and hours and hours and feel committed to it. You're like, hmm, no, it's good. I can just throw it away. Or, yeah, this is something here. I can go in there and edit it, manipulate exactly what I want, and then I can go and commit the files. So it is a pretty cool, really productive, really speedy way to write code.
Yeah, it's looking great, and for in this example, tasks like adding icons for a specific action or experience, I feel like anytime I have to interact with images in the context of an app, I get annoyed personally, so it's nice to be able to push that annoying, not necessarily incredibly difficult task onto something else that can do it for you, so
Right, especially when so I have apps across all the different frameworks, and I'm like, "Oh, I can never remember. Is it the slash slash? Is it
right, like, what
classic slash" and it's like, I can't remember, and I end up having to
yeah,
look it up, and it's like, "You know who remembers?"
yep. So many times I'll just give up and be like, "I'm just gonna use the hard path or the full path for now until I can figure out the correct relative path with combos,
Exactly.
slashes, whatever."
And we obviously never ever ship those things, right? That never gets out.
Oh, no, of course not. I always remember to go back and change it. Sweet. So that was agent mode in general, but agent mode also comes with like its own specific sets of agents that you can take advantage of. Many of which are now built in with Visual Studio and VS 2026 in particular. So we're going to talk about one of those next, right?
Yeah. So I switched over to a different instance of Visual Studio, and I'm going to create a new thread here. This is my app Text Grab, which Text Grab is I would say it's the original text extractor Power Toys. And I just basically wanted to have a quick utility that can do screenshots of anything on your screen and OCR it. So it uses the built-in Windows OCR engine. And I want to optimize a mode that you have called the grab frame, which is almost like a little transparent window that you can move around and it will OCR anything on the screen. So it's a really cool feature, but sometimes it can be slow. Maybe it's using too much memory. So let's see if the profiler agent can help us out there. We're not going to make the ask agent mistake. We're going to have it on agent mode. And here you can use the at symbol. So you can see slash is for things like doc, explain, fix, help, optimize. The pound is for like assets and referencing objects. And the at command, I can reference different agents. So debug, GitHub, profiler, test. So I'm going to use the profiler one right now and say, help me optimize the memory of the grab frame. And I'm not even referencing it right now. I'm just saying the grab frame. There's obviously lots of references in my code, and you can see that it will be able to understand the grab frame, and it already found the relevant windows and utilities. But what it's actually going to do is it's going to like kick off a memory diagnostic session, which is pretty cool because I know that's a tool of Visual Studio, but I personally am not very accustomed to it. I haven't used it a lot. So sometimes I run it and I'm like, I don't really understand how that works.
So I do like that each, agent that exists in VS like this one, it gets its own little icon blurb saying, "Hey, it's the profiling agent here to help you out with this particular task on this
Mhm.
example."
I'm
And
actually
yeah, you mentioned oh, go ahead.
I'm actually seeing right now that it is jumping over to making a memory benchmark. And I'm going to stop that right now. And I'm going to ask it because I did this just earlier and I'm going to say, okay, CPU usage. So let me prompt it again so that it actually triggers. I don't want to make a whole plan right now. I just want to trigger the diagnostic session.
Ooh.
But I mean, that is a good example of it will do a whole benchmarking. It'll do all these benchmarking
Mhm.
tests and it will benchmark all of your memory.
Which, as you alluded to, is awesome if you are not one who's super well versed in, like, trying to measure optimization related things and figuring out how to further improve your code in that way. There's a lot of tools that are very specific to profiling that are really cool, many of which are built into VS, but can also be a little difficult to figure out the what's next from sometimes. So it's good to give it to the agent here, which can go do all the work for you.
Yeah. Now, will it run the baseline? This is the question. So it is funny to kind of like sit back and just like watch as it thinks and steps through all of these.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, that seems like a lot of work.
Yeah. At least it's not me. So yeah, if it goes wrong, stakes aren't super high.
Right. And one thing I also noticed while I was playing around with the profiler is as it's building benchmarks, it's obviously all of the existing code practices that we talk about, we preach about, hey, your code should be broken out into, different files and services and, everything you can do to componentize it so it's easier to
Mhm.
test. That also means it's going to be hopefully easier to benchmark and
Great.
read the benchmark and the agent will review it. And this is searching for a benchmark. I'm confused why this is not kicking off a diagnostic session.
Yeah, that's weird. It got triggered properly, right? Does it say profiler up top in the header?
Yeah, it says profiler here. And
Or
this,
does it say, like, right before the steps got drafted, like, in the chat itself? Yeah, okay.
yeah, I literally just did this.
Yeah, so weird.
All right. I don't know why
Can
it
you try it
keeps.
one more time?
Yeah, I'm going to
Or maybe you could try it in a new thread altogether?
optimize the CPU usage of the graph frame. Okay. Now, there we
Oh,
go.
here we go.
For
Yay.
some reason, there was a specific word, a keyword,
Yeah.
but
I
it
think
got.
optimize is definitely a good keyword to get Propeller Agent to do what you want it to all the time.
Mhm. To be fair, the benchmarking does work, but it's
Mhm.
just much slower and much more time consuming. And what I was hoping to show was just showing the memory in this diagnostic session. So I'm going to trigger the grab frame here, move it around. You can kind of see it'll try to OCR some of these words that we can select within this window. And then I'm going to stop. I'm going to exit the app. And when the app is closed, it will automatically finish that diagnostic session, and the profiler will read and analyze that session and try to figure out where we can optimize it.
Look at that. And that's all stuff that you can do manually, like today, by the way, if you wanted to, like no copilot required. But it's nice that again, the agent can do that work for you and then provide insights on where there's room for improvement and how it can be fixed.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I first look at this and I'm like, oh, what are all these categories?
Yeah, sure.
I'll
So what is
scroll
family
through
high
here.
chart and hot paths for
Right.
the main method? What about it?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And so it's going to ask what do you want to do? Do you want to optimize these different things? And there's some quick links here where I can maybe even say, yeah, focus on optimizing the word border creation because I know that that's something that I built and it's not a framework. It's not built into a package. So I can tell it to do that. And similar to the agent mode that we just saw, it will kind of go for it and it will analyze the structures. It will look at some of the big calls. So I do know draw rectangles around words is a complicated method that does a lot of work, obviously. It's an OCR tool. That's what it's going to do. So it'll optimize right here for you. Like it figures out what an opportunity would be. And then you say, okay, do it. And it is doing it, which is awesome. And again, hands off the keyboard.
Mhm.
I can get up,
Enjoy the show,
get the coffee, and come back. Yeah, it's pretty great.
especially for
And
something like profiling, which that's not it's a very niche area of expertise that not understandably, not everybody wants to have to completely know everything about.
right. Yeah. And I did it for CPU usage. I think I said that at the very beginning of this session. Yes, for CPU usage. And so that's why what we're looking at here is CPU. But you could do the same kind of thing for memory usage. So say, hey, take a look at this and analyze for memory. And you could do the same kind of thing. It will generate the report, it'll read the report, it'll make a recommendations for steps for places that you could do to improve your memory. You can say, all right, go for it. And like I said before, where it's you kind of lean on the best practices we're doing all the time. Having Git in this workflow makes it so much easier to not worry or and to roll back from changes where I can make a new branch called profiler experiments. Again, let's say this is a spike at work and we just want to try to improve some performance. Make a branch, do a bunch of crazy stuff, right? Like, oh, like maybe this will work, maybe it won't, who knows? And then see what works. Like, is it successful at making it more efficient? And whenever this is done making some of these changes, I might even ask it to run the tests and look at the output and see if any tests failed, why they fail, and how to fix them.
Yeah, if it doesn't work out, it's on another branch. You didn't break the main branch, so you're good to
Exactly.
go.
Yeah, I know a lot of people who are individual developers who are like, yeah, I mean, do you need Git for one person? You're just kind of pushing it up. Like I could just save it
Yeah,
and whatever. And you're like, yeah. But now with Copilot, it's kind of like you're on a team, right? You're
yeah.
on a team.
It's like you really want it.
And so you really do want the ability to somebody might make a change. It might be
Yeah.
obviously you're
Give yourself the space to try and fail with low stakes for real, like, it's not working, that's what you have multiple branches for, or the ability to go back and rebase something or whatever, so, like,
right.
instead of having to hope that the undo button can resolve most of the work.
Hmm. Yeah, you definitely don't want to rely fully on the undo button. And it will make changes. Like it created this new benchmark file. And again, I have keep, I have undo. I can change that if I want to. But that is like, there are a lot of steps, a lot of opportunities for you to kind of roll back and see, like, okay, what did you actually change and how did it
Mhm.
affect things? And steering it as you go. So I might say here, like, don't make a benchmark. So let's see if I don't want it to make a benchmark, but I do want to run the tests and make sure that they pass. Is it just going to delete that file? Yeah, it's nothing. Just deleted it. No. Okay, it's building again. These are some of the tools or the ability to build it, run it, read in the tray, so you can
Or
see then.
or play some benchmarks and measure that.
Mm-hmm. So you can see here in the terminal, it's like running all of my tests. It's got warnings that I need to fix, or maybe I can have somebody fix it for me. It failed with an error. It is funny how enthusiastic it can be. Great. Now,
I know, that's awesome. "Oh, they
yeah,
found the problem.
right.
Found the other problem, let's go do it."
Yep. It's very enthusiastic and it will jump on different issues and say, oh, okay. I know. I need to fix this. And here we go. And it made a change and it's trying to run them again. So this is kind of the loop that I was talking about, where if you're going back and forth, copying and pasting, or working in tools that are not native in your IDE where everything is all together, you have to sit there and basically take something from this agent and try it and then take it back and hand it back. So you're like handing a lot of information either from the output or the debug back and forth. And having it all in one thing really does speed things up so much faster and allow you to go hands off or multitask or whatever it is and just to kind of see what's possible.
Totally. Less, context switching has to happen.
Yeah. It's just amazing that it's all embedded here.
I also do like that the profiler agent, really all of the other built-in BS agents, they're kinda built with that iteration in mind, so it's not gonna just call it a day right away when something fails, like how your, one of your tests failed. It's gonna go
Mhm.
try and resolve the issue. Like, there's also the debugger agent that was recently introduced, I think as of GA, that people can try out that functions similarly to the profiler, where it takes advantage of debugging tools and, like the test explorer and stuff like that on your behalf in order to try to address problems. And I think debugging, usually the flow is like, yeah, you might fix one thing, but then there's another thing that doesn't work. So then you gotta go address that, or it just doesn't work with the fix that you thought was gonna work, and the debugger agent does all that for you and will reiterate and revise its hypothesis as to what it thinks the problem could be and go address that. So it's nice to have these agents that are not going to just end it after one one task, which is not always great.
Right. And a lot of times with code, this is kind of the beauty of where an LLM works really well is that your code has to compile. Even if it tells you a good story, you're like, oh yeah, sure, that sounds good. But then like, is it real? Right? Does it
Right.
and the compiler will tell you if it's real, right?
Uh-huh, yeah.
The test will tell you if it's wrong.
Probably doesn't lie. Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't lie. And luckily, the two now are kind of more in line in that loop, which is awesome.
Yeah,
So
I so nice that it can act Copilot can actually acknowledge the output window in general now because of things like that. Because in the past, before you could reference the output window, yeah, it would just start to hallucinate from my experience sometimes where it's just like, "I'm getting this error from the output window." It's like, "Well, I'm not, so that sounds like a you problem."
yeah, it's definitely a problem that
Uh,
you have to address. Let's team up here. This is right now do running some of those optimizations and improving it. And you can see here I got the little asterisk on this file. So it's running through and editing. You can kind of see it in real time here on the side,
yeah.
like running down the side of the file. This is a really long file. I need to follow my own advice and break.
Ooh, that is a long file.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Did you hit 2,000 lines? Are we at the bottom? No, you're in the middle.
Oh yeah, no, it's super long. It's going. It's chewing. This is why it
Yep.
takes most of its time.
You go through the long, yeah.
But yeah, typically, I mean, I've had Copilot build a lot of features in this app, and it does a really good job. And it's generally much faster, and it lets me experiment and understand like, do I even want to waste my time building
Right.
this? And sometimes the
I
answer is no.
Yeah, totally, and that's a totally okay answer, and especially given that it's hopefully gonna take you less time to do something with Copilot to experiment. I just did some vibe coding at work to create, like, a prototype for an experience that I want on the thing that I'm working on right now, and it's like, it took half an hour, and my takeaway from it was that it's totally doable. If anything, it's like a very low-hanging fruit based off of how little effort there was to even just vibe code it. So it's like, okay, like we should prioritize this because this makes sense and you could play around with an actual thing. There's merit in that. So yeah, having the ability to experiment a little bit easier is really great from a productivity standpoint. Like at work, when you if you're like me and you do a lot of feature work, sometimes it's nice to be able to just see what would this theoretically look like in the wild instead of having to create a giant mock-up all the time.
Yeah, it is kind of funny that people talked about the hallucinating of AI and how that's like a total non-starter and I can't use it if it is going to hallucinate. But I've been in meetings for sure where we're talking about features and people are hallucinating capabilities or they're making all these ideas and claims and, theories about what a thing will do or what it can do. And it's like, I don't think that it's going to do that. And one nice thing again about it being code is that we can build an actual test and explain what's going on. Like, just do it. Yeah, it's not a
Right.
question or a guess or a theory. It's like, yeah, let's actually make it happen and see what works. I see this test failed. Now I can say output failed. Maybe that's not the output failed. So I'm just having a test. And this is kind of the, I mean, anybody who's a developer is really familiar with this loop of you build something over here and then maybe it breaks a test that you didn't know it was touching
Mhm.
it. You just run in and you start investigating all the things of what could have gone wrong and maybe it was something else altogether. It's just so much more easy to get your features done and not be, blocked, by running down all
Oh my
those holes and spending so much time, but you're actually getting it right.
100%.
And there's so much to read here. Isn't that fun?
I know. Sometimes when I'm not feeling up to reading, I'm like, be blunt or be brief.
Right, right. And that's one super nice thing about just like how the files just show with like the little asterisk and you can just like hop over to it and it highlights this is what was changed and you zoom right to it and you scroll through and you can see all the code changes.
Mhm.
My optimizations are correct. This is a classic thing of pre-existing failures, right? They were
Yeah.
failing before. We changed something else and now they're failing. So it's like, okay,
Again.
right. It's blaming you. It was already broken. It was broken when I got here.
It's cool though that we were at the very least able to get the optimization piece in without having to be completely knowledgeable about all the ins and outs of CPU usage and how to resolve that sort of thing.
Yeah, it is. It's pretty great. And I'm excited to test out these optimizations. If you are in Visual Studio, I think it would be easy and fun to test some of these features out and see how it works. Obviously, you could start in ask mode if you're just curious about what it can do or how well it knows your code base.
Mhm.
Another agent here is the workspace agent. So if you hit at, you can ask it questions about your workspace. So if you want to know, very specific things for you that that's there. Again, tests are such a fun and easy way to be like, build this test for me because they can be so tedious that you can see what's possible. And then go and, improve the test. Figure out a way that you can maybe start poking around with this and see if it works for you. If you learn something or if your apps can be improved. But yeah, just like get out there and build stuff. That's my recommendation.
I am inclined to agree with that. Go try everything out, y'all. Use Git. If
Yes.
you really want to give yourself the grace to be able to fail in your experimentation.
Yes. Use Git. Git is a huge safety rail that you have to do. Like, if you're going to be messing around with these agents, use Git.
And yeah, play around with all the other agents that we didn't talk about. I mentioned the debugging one, which probably goes alongside the profiling one. So, Joe, if people have questions for you, where can they reach out?
So I'm on Blue Sky at the Joe Finn, or you can search my name, Joe Finney. I think I'm the only one there, or at least the one that is talking about Windows stuff and apps. So that's probably the easiest place. But if you head over to joefinapps.com, you could see some of my apps, and a lot of them are open source. So if you're curious about something you've seen here, check it out.
Well, Joe, thanks so much for being on the show. I rhymed.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Thanks everybody for watching. Go try out agent mode if you haven't already. It should just be permanently on for most of you, I'm sure. Try out the profiler agent and all the other agents in Visual Studio. And until next time, happy coding.